Hello YouTube, it's your cell. And that was my best impression of the queer runner.
Yay! Hello, YouTube.
You didn't want to upstage me there.
No. So basically, we're gonna, because it's Pride and stuff. We are. I don't really know where to look. I'm looking there. Right. Okay, that's fine. We're going to be talking about sort of coming out and sexuality and how that's kind of affected us throughout time and things. Do you want to sort of explain a bit about yourself, or shall I kind of?
Yeah, I can absolutely introduce myself.
You can talk about your channel as well if you want.
Shameless self-promotion, I love it. So my name's Ellie, and I have a channel on YouTube called Ellie and Ellie, where I talk about mental health, different issues in the mental health community, as well as my own journey with mental health. I guess I could give a bit of a trigger warning, because I know Dylan's always really good with them. But in sort of my discussions of... You are. Give yourself credit where it is due. And yeah, so in my own sort of discussions of mental health, I do talk about my own anxiety and depression and journey with medication, all of which kind of feeds into my own sort of discovery and experience of sexuality and things like that. So things we'll probably be talking about in this video. But yeah, that's mostly what I talk about on my channel, as well as talking about issues that are important to other people and other people have recommended to me. And so today I'm joining the wonderful Dylan on this Pride Month. Happy Pride. And yeah, we're just going to have a bit of a discussion about coming out and sexuality and how that is linked to our mental health and how mental health can be impacting on one or the other.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Because I know that I sort of personally, like you've probably heard the stories about me kind of not having the best start to kind of coming out with things. Didn't have the worst, like but living in a small town has its downsides. And then coming out as gay and being sort of kind of what's the word? Kind of like everybody sort of kind of treated me differently as soon as I came out, and kind of, I don't know, like it was awkward and weird, and then later on sort of going back home with partners and things like that and getting victimized as a result and stuff. And this was all before I came out as trans. Yeah.
So that was purely on a basis of sexuality, and there was just a complete lack of understanding there.
Yeah, I lived in fear of kind of coming out anyway, just because, I don't know, like I said, small town, and also like I hadn't met anyone who was gay apart from sort of gay men, if that makes sense. And there was little me who at the time was sort of identifying and presenting as female, and sort of kind of went, oh wait, I fancy women. Don't go to the toilet. Sorry, the cat's
we have a cat in our presence.
and she's picking now to go to the toilet, of course. Sorry if you see me fiddling a lot here. My necklace broke yesterday, so I haven't got my stem.
That's okay. We'll maybe get to catch a glimpse of the cat later if you're lucky. But
she is a black cat.
Very.
But yeah, that kind of sort of oppression and suppression. That's going to get picked up.
It's not distracting at all.
Messy. Oh well, fair enough.
Sorry,
anyway.
My full attention is on you.
Like my full attention isn't on me. But yeah, that kind of stuff sort of, I think, naturally is going to have sort of an impact on mental health, and I think as a result may have, I don't know what she's smelling, but like it may have kind of triggered some kind of anxiety you know, and sort of depressive tendencies.
Mm-hmm.
Much as that, like my sort of depression and stuff like that is actually congenital
Mm-hmm.
because I have cyclothymia. The rest, I think, is you know, I think is kind of learned,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that's it's not. I don't know. Like I think just had I been sort of fully accepted in, like, had I been growing up in Edinburgh or a bigger city or
Yeah.
somewhere that was a bit more cosmopolitan,
Mm-hmm.
then I think I would have been more kind of okay with stuff, you know?
Yeah. I mean, when you're exploring these things for the first time on your own, it's definitely not going to help to be feeling a sense of shame or guilt about things and having to hide things as you go along,
I was
learning
scared.
these things.
Because,
Yeah.
like, relationships and fancying people is scary enough,
Mm-hmm.
let alone, like, kind of adding in sort of bigotry and all sorts of things on top of that. Like, it just becomes, pardon my French, a clusterfuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, because you're then dealing with, like, what if they don't like me? They probably don't because they're probably straight, but then also, what if I get chased with golf clubs?
Yeah. That's a whole other level of anxiety when it
Yeah.
should be something that is instead quite exciting and a lot of,
And
around that
silly
time
and,
there's a lot of
oh
first
my god.
times and yeah, all those new experiences you get to share with your friends and, your family and
Yeah.
missing out on that it would have
Um,
a big impact.
it
Mm.
did. Yeah, totally. I mean, like, it's just, yeah. And then, sort of, for so long, not being attracted to men at
Mm.
all, and then coming out as trans, and then suddenly finding men attractive is a bizarre thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's like my life has taken an odd shift at the moment. But because of where I live, because of the friends that I have,
Mm-hmm.
um, and all sorts of things now, I'm just much more comfortable in sort of saying to people, actually, like, I find men attractive, I find women attractive, I find everyone attractive. Well, I don't find everyone attractive. That sort of puts a bad spin on things, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what's down there
Mm-hmm.
in so much as I care more what's up here.
Yeah.
I mean, I am predominantly more attracted to cis women, but like,
Yeah.
that's just been history more
Yeah.
than anything
And
else.
we all
But
have preferences as well.
yeah,
That's just natural.
um, but that, like, I hate the sort of kind of thing of like, oh, you're bisexual or pansexual. What percentage?
Or was that the Kinsey scale
Yeah,
or
but like,
something to that effect?
I mean, it's something that I actually used to ask people myself, and I'm
Mm.
guilty of it. Like, like, oh, would you say you're like 60-40?
Yeah, I've heard that.
But that, first of all, that implies that there's a binary.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't. It is a spectrum. People, we know this. You're
Huge
on my
spectrum.
channel. You know there's a spectrum, for everything, but also, like, it sort of, I don't know, the Kinsey scale. It's great in a sense. Like, it was great for its time, but
Mm-hmm.
it's dated, and I think we need to sort of stop focusing on it so much of kind of going, there's one extreme to the other. I think it's circular,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, much like politics. Hello, can I help you? Cat. I'm so distracted by the cat. I do apologise. She's so wonderful, though.
She is very sweet. If you get to see her at some point, you'll be able to confirm this, but she's a very sweet cat.
Annie is not getting her home.
Is she? I agree though. I think it definitely puts a lot of pressure on people to sort of fit into a certain box, particularly growing up in things like high school and when you're first thinking about things like sexuality, it can be very difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like, it just, because, like, I don't know if I've actually talked about this on video before. I might have done. Um, because I was attracted to women, and because of where I grew up, and hello, cat, and because of the sort of way that things were, I actually thought that because I was attracted to women, I must be a man.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went, but I can't be a man because I have that and these. Um, and it was such an odd thought process because I didn't understand what was going on. And then suddenly in the news there was something to do with a trans woman being murdered or something like that, and I read it in the paper, and I was very little, and I said, well, I say very little, I was probably about 8 or 9 or something, and asked my mum, you know, what is what's trans? What is a trans woman? What's a transvestite? What is this sort of thing? And Mum, I'm really sorry if you're watching this because I'm going to talk about something that we've never actually spoken about since. But she said, trans people aren't real. It's all in their head. And I sort of went, oh, okay. So I had, an inkling about like kind of, or like an idea that I might not be the gender that I was assigned at birth from quite a young age. But this cat is super distracting. I might just shut her out. But that'd be a shame. That'd be a shame. But like, I had this concept that clearly I didn't feel like like I should be the gender that I was assigned, and then I kind of went, actually, no, this term lesbian sort of fits me because I've been told all my life that I'm female, and sort of tried to kind of conform to that, and yeah, coming out's weird.
It does sound really hard, particularly with all the conflicting ideals of what you're being told by society as well.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, small town exposure to things as well isn't much. Like, again, had I sort of grown up here, I would have possibly seen like drag queens at the Fringe, or things like that, and kind of been a bit more exposed to alternative sort of gender things. But the only drag sort of stuff, or the only people that were gender non-conforming, they're not gender non-conforming, was like the drag queens in pantomimes. And yeah, or the dames, I should say, not drag queens, in pantomimes, and that kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, I come from a small town as well. I come from Melrose, if any of you have heard of Melrose.
Yay. I don't know why I did that, but yay.
And it's very much the same. It's everything on a smaller scale, not much in the way of gay bars or anything like that. And my smaller friend circle was quite accepting, but there wasn't much in the way of counsellors you could go to, people you could speak to, and people you could trust with that sort of information.
Yeah.
And I think Earlston High School in particular was quite good for people being able to feel that they could come out and things like that, but without all the same opportunities that you get in a larger city, it's quite restrictive in the sense of who you can go to and who you can talk to.
Yeah, definitely.
I've identified as bi-curious for quite a long sort of period of time.
Okay.
But at the moment, I identify as straight.
Okay.
I'm just sort of in the place that
cool.
I'm in my life.
I never know, like, with these things, and I think because, like, I am not a nosy. Well, I am a nosy person, but I don't. It's not that it doesn't interest me. It's not a focus of mine. Like, I don't suddenly go, oh, but you're with a man, you must be straight, and we must talk about these things constantly, because ultimately it's none of my business. I often say to people that, like, my sexuality and anybody else's sexuality, the only people that it really matters to are the people that you're sleeping with, or and if it's problematic for you, I just kind of expect you to sort of come to me if you're like, hang on, actually I have a problem and I need someone to talk to. Then I'll be like, cool, I'm right here. But until then, like, I sort of vaguely remembered a conversation where we had where we discussed something about, like, you kind of finding a woman attractive, and I went, okay, cool. But but I can imagine sort of for you in or for anyone that does identify as bisexual, I don't know what I identify as, what the label is. But, as a person who identifies as non-binary, I get invalidated constantly. Bisexual people, I hear constantly, that they're told that they're greedy, told that they don't exist, things like that. And I can relate because I get told I don't exist. And actually, in some senses, coming out as trans has been liberating, but has also been really hard on my mental health. Because I'm constantly going, am I not real? Am I not here?
Yeah.
Why am I not seen?
Yeah, having to be validated or to meet some certain criteria to be real. Yeah. And,
the minute, oh God, I felt really awkward doing this actually when I went to the gender clinic and sort of said that I wanted my hormones, my dosage upped. And I went in and sort of did that, and then like kind of coming out and sort of speaking to friends and family and sort of going, yeah, my hormones have been increased. And then I sort of went, nobody said this, like it was in my head. I kind of went, oh wait, does that make me non-binary anymore? Like, am I suddenly in the binary? And then I kind of went, no, actually, I don't identify with societal norms. But I like the effects of the hormones.
Yeah.
Like, I like the deeper voice that's sexy.
It's very husky and very sexy.
Yeah, and I like the beard, and I like all the sort of kind of trimmings that come with that. And then, until I sort of feel like a time that I need to stop or to lower my dose, this is it, and I'm happy with that. And in some senses, I'm just blethering at you, I do apologise. Like, in some senses, like, coming out has been really good for my confidence. Like, I've gone, no, you know what? This is me. Thanks, Grace. Like, my brain just went, like, started singing the song. But consequently, like, I've also sort of had to battle with this other voice, this little devil sitting on my shoulder going, but you're appearing more masculine, like you've shaved your head, you have done these things, are you sure you're not a boy?
Yeah, that's really hard to have to question yourself every step of the way.
Yeah, and I'm like, nah, you know what? Non-binary doesn't mean that I'm not a boy either. Like, I can be a boy.
Yeah.
But I can also just be a non-binary boy.
Yeah. In any sense of the huge spectrum, if you feel queer enough, you are queer enough.
What?
Whoa. Validation.
Could you go and work in a gender clinic or the government, please?
Oh, I work for the NHS. Does that count? Like,
no.
I guess, like, it's a tough one. Like, bi-erasure makes me very angry, and it definitely does. And that's not why I don't identify as such. I think growing up, we have had like talks about sort of older relationships and going through high school and sort of discovering sexuality. But I'd had sort of sexual experiences with girls and I'd had them with guys. And I think it got to the point where women were asking me out and I was considering, would I consider a sort of a long-term relationship with a woman?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't in the same way that I would with a man.
I think I'm very much the same in the opposite way. But for me, actually, I've gone the opposite. Like, I've gone from identifying as lesbian into kind of going like, ooh. But it's interesting. Sorry, totally butted in on what you were saying.
No, you're fine.
Go back to it.
No, it's the same experience. And I think that's why I why I identify as heterosexual over being like still sort of claiming bi-curiosity or anything like that. Just because it feels like appropriating a term that doesn't affect me or sort of sum up me in my stage that I'm in my life anymore. It more sums up a stage I was in my life when I was figuring out sexuality and figuring out who I liked and when women were asking me out, whether or not I would take them up on that, and whether or not that would be fair on them as well. Is that just experimentation? Is that what I actually want? And there's a lot of that just in sexuality anyway, when you're figuring out,
Oh yeah, yeah,
relationships emotionally and
absolutely.
physically. Do I actually want this? Am I just doing it because I feel I'm supposed to be doing this?
Mm.
And so there was a lot of that involved in that as well. And it was sort of through my initial uni years that I figured out that I was more just considering relationships with men than I was with women and men and intersex and anything in between. But that's sort of where I lay by the end of that sort of journey of self discovery. And it's where
Mm.
I still am now. And I, like you mentioned, I've been in a relationship with a man for sort of 4+ years now. And while I still find women sort of very attractive in that sense, in a sort of physical sense, it's still not a sense where I would allow, or we'd sort of welcome a woman into the relationship in a polyamorous sense.
Mm.
Maybe a physical sense, but not
Not
anything
enough.
sort of beyond
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
interesting. Like I used to. Oh, I was horrible. Like when I first kind of came out as lesbian, because I think I rejected the bi side of myself, or didn't understand it or something like that, and so it became a little bit biphobic. Not gonna lie, but then also I think that's also a cultural thing. Like I sort of came to Edinburgh, and like all, not all, but a lot of the gay people that I met were very like, oh, the bisexuals are greedy and or undecided and or
Yeah.
this that and the other, and it's only fairly recently that I've kind of gone, actually, no.
So
um
much stigma from the LGBT community and out with the LGBT community. So,
but it's funny that actually sort of like, even I was discussing this with a friend of mine the other day, that like the like my friends accepted. I'm quite lucky, but a lot of the kind of transphobia that I've experienced, and so on and so forth, comes from the G of the LGBT, sadly, or or the L, as we know. Like we've seen the London Pride March
oh
videos.
God, yeah, it was
Uh,
horrible.
um, yeah, like, and I still don't understand this need to sort of kind of break down that sort of thing. Like, but also when I first kind of came out as lesbian, I was like, oh my god, they're so undecided. Like, bi curious people are just using people and all sorts of things. And then I went, no, actually, stop it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a word with myself. Um, and I kind of went, I sort of thought about it and kind of went, hang on, you might be a little bit on the bi curious side.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe stop persecuting others as much as, because I think it was internalized, like a sort of biphobia, and so it was like I was persecuting like kind of myself
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
as well as other people.
Yeah.
And actually coming out as non-binary kind of opened it up like a whole bunch of things for me, because I suddenly went, well, I've identified as lesbian for such a long time, um, and now that I don't have a gender, I can't be lesbian. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not a woman, but I'm not a man, so therefore I don't have a sexuality
Mm-hmm.
label. And then I kind of went, but actually, I kind of like some guys and some non-binary people, and all sorts of like things in between. And so just I gave up
Mm-hmm.
having a label. Um, and thankfully nobody really asks about it anymore, and it's been quite liberating.
Yeah.
What?
I think labels really help some people, but for some people they feel quite restrictive because it's like saying that sexuality isn't fluid and dynamic, which it can be
Yeah,
as well as gender and many other things in our lives. So it's not sort of confining you to one box. Maybe
definitely.
you. Yeah.
Anyway, this is getting really long, I think.
Oh God, so it is.
So we should maybe wrap it up. And normally, like, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm trying a new outro where I say stay hydrated,
Oh yeah, no, I have.
But
like
because it's Pride, maybe I could say stay hygated.
I think you should just say it.
Stay hygated. That didn't work. There we go. Stay hygated.
See you later.